Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into some really unsettling stories, the kind that stick with you. They're pulled from places like Reddit, those corners of the internet where people share, well, pretty much anything.
Exactly. And these aren't just ghost stories.
No, not at all. They're more like snapshots of something really strange happening, accidental discoveries, weird online stuff turning real, moments that make you question things.
Right. Online communities can become these accidental archives of the bizarre, sometimes terrifying, often inexplicable. It's a unique window, really.
So our mission today is to unpack some of these accounts.
Explore what they tell us about, the world, maybe ourselves too.
Okay, so let's unpack this first one then. It starts with a Reddit user talking about their friend's house. They lived there about a year.
And there was this bookshelf.
Yeah, exactly. A bookshelf everyone just assumed was built in, standard stuff. But one day, messing around, they find out it's not attached to the wall. It actually swings open, and behind it, a secret spiral stairwell, just leading down seemingly into a solid wall at the bottom.
Wow. Okay, a hidden staircase is one thing, but what else?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. About halfway down these stairs, they find this tiny, cramped crawl space, like barely big enough for someone to squeeze into.
Okay, creepy.
And inside, well, they found some weird stuff. An ornamental elephant, a random key, no idea what it opens, and the creepiest part, a couple of really unsettling dolls.
Dolls, so nice.
Yeah. The user even put a banana peel in a photo for scale. It just shows how incredibly small this space was.
Right.
So the implication, it's chilling. Someone had apparently been living, periodically anyway, inside their walls, coming and going without anyone noticing, maybe sleeping there at night because the house was supposedly pretty soundproof.
That is profoundly disturbing. It's not just the physical intrusion, is it? It's the psychological violation.
Rolling.
Your home is meant to be safe, private. The idea that someone else sees it as their space too, secretly, it shatters that sense of security.
Makes every noise suspicious.
Exactly. It turns comfort into vulnerability. The Post mentioned the police were called, right?
Yeah, they were. And apparently the house has stayed clear since then, thankfully. But still, imagine knowing that happened.
That feeling of violation, it lingers. Hard to shake.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From hidden spaces in homes to hidden truths in online communities. How safe are those spaces?
That's a great question. Because connection can be powerful, but also deceptive.
Right. This next story is about a Reddit community called Carl H. Programming. It was focused on, computer science. And the guy who started it, Carl H., he was this really active, engaged moderator. Beloved, actually.
So very involved in the community.
Oh, yeah, hugely. People saw him as a real friend. He'd Skype with members, teach them coding, set up a YouTube channel. He even helped people who were struggling with depression, offered support. Just seemed like a great mentor,
Yeah.
Friendly, welcoming.
The ideal community leader, almost.
Totally. But then it gets really dark.
There's always a but, isn't there?
Well, yeah. In 2013, the whole community was just floored. News broke that Carl H. had been arrested.
Arrested for what?
He and his partner were charged with raping and torturing his own 9-year-old son and filming it, distributing it online. The abuse was apparently so bad, his son had to be admitted to a psychiatric ward.
Oh my God. That's horrific.
Can you imagine the shock for all those people who saw him as a friend, a mentor?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it speaks volumes about online personas, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, we build trust based on these digital interactions, these curated versions of people. But there can be this huge, terrifying gap between the online persona and the actual person. A benevolent figure online can hide.
Yeah.
Well, monstrosity.
Yeah. And the source mentioned Carl committed suicide in jail in November 2014, waiting for trial.
Right.
And the subreddit now, it's described as a virtual ghost town. People posting, kind of grappling with it all, condemning him, obviously, but some still expressing gratitude for the help he gave them.
A really disturbing contradiction. It forces you to question how much we really know about anyone we interact with solely online.
Makes you think, for sure. Okay, let's move into something more psychological, existential maybe, where reality itself seems to bend.
Like altered states of consciousness.
Kind of. There was this Reddit thread asking about meeting someone amazing in a dream, forming this deep connection, and then waking up feeling terrible because, they weren't real.
Right, that feeling of loss for something that never was.
Exactly. But one user's story went way beyond that. He said back in college, he got into a fight with a football player and got knocked out cold.
And then?
And then, he didn't just have a dream. He apparently lived out years. Got a great job, fell in love, got married, had kids. A whole life.
Years. In the time he was unconscious.
That's what he described. But then, something started to feel wrong. He noticed his lamp. The perspective seemed off. He said it looked odd, like inverted.
The lamp?
Yeah, this lamp. He became obsessed with it, stared at it for days, apparently. His wife got worried, took the kids to her parents. He just stayed there, fixated on this lamp.
This is fascinating from a neurological perspective.
Yeah.
We see similar reports sometimes with near-death experiences or even intense psychedelic trips. People describe living entire lifetimes in what are objectively very short periods.
How does that even work?
Well, one theory involves massive releases of neurochemicals, perhaps DMT, under extreme stress or trauma. It could dramatically warp our subjective perception of time. The brain constructs a reality, detailed and felt, that unfolds incredibly rapidly compared to clock time.
So he's staring at this lamp, and then he has this realization, the lamp isn't real. And just like that, boom, he wakes up, he's on the ground, there's a police officer leaning over him. What felt like years had only been minutes since he was knocked out.
Imagine the disorientation, the grief even. Waking up to find that entire life, the love, the family, none of it existed outside his own head.
He said he fell into a deep depression afterwards. And the creepiest detail, he says he still sometimes catches glimpses of his son from that life, always 5 years old in the corner of his eye. But he can never hear what the son is saying.
That's haunting. A constant phantom reminder of a life lived only in the mind. A truly horrifying psychological burden.
Yeah, absolutely chilling. Okay, moving from internal horror to something external, persistent. This is an account of someone being followed.
A stalker story.
Sort of, but weirder. A Reddit user posted less than a year ago about this, said a man started following him when he was very young, didn't appear often, just periodically, and he'd whistle.
Whistle.
Yeah, a very specific whistle. One high note, then one low note. He never got a good look at the guy, but he vividly remembered his mom being terrified the first time it happened. Like she knew something.
Interesting. That sounds almost folkloric.
Well, that's what other Redditors thought too. They drew parallels to El Silban.
Ah, the whistler from South American lore.
Exactly. This emaciated figure known for stalking people, whistling, and the whistle sounds further away the closer she actually is. Super creepy.
Definitely creepy. So, did it stop?
For a while, yeah. The user grew up, moved away, ended up in South Dakota. Then, July 4th, 2015, he's alone by the Missouri River watching fireworks. It's dark.
Okay.
And he sees a figure in a canoe slowly paddling towards him. Which was odd, he said, because the police usually cleared boats off the river for fireworks. Then the whistling starts. Same exact pattern. High note, low note, from his childhood. The figure in the canoe gets level with him on the shore, turns, looks right at him, whistles again, and then just paddles away.
Whoa. Did he see the person?
Not clearly. He's a videographer, apparently, so he managed to get some blurry footage as the canoe was leaving. But here's the kicker.
Okay.
Later, he shows the video to his mom, asks her, "Remember that whistling when I was a kid, your reaction?" And his mom, she claims she has absolutely no memory of it ever happening.
Wow. So either she genuinely forgot, or she's blocking something truly terrifying. That adds a whole other layer. It's not just the unexplained pursuit across decades and states with no clear motive. It's the potential denial, the buried memory. It makes the whole thing feel even more insidious, more deeply unsettling.
Yeah, it really does. Makes you wonder about things you just dismiss. Okay, let's shift to something found, not following. A real-world discovery in the wilderness.
Found by hikers. Those stories can be intense.
This one definitely is. Came from a thread asking hikers about creepy finds. So, the setting. Popular spot, 150-foot waterfall. But this group wasn't on the main trail. They were on a less used bouldering trail near the bottom.
Okay, off the beaten path.
Yeah. And they were just, taking pictures, scenery, group shots, whatever.
And they found something in the pictures.
Exactly. It wasn't until later when they were looking back at the photos that they saw it. Completely by accident, they'd captured an image of a young woman, 22 years old, face down in the mud near the base of the falls.
Oh, no. Was she?
She was alive. Barely. She'd fallen from the waterfall, had compound fractures in both legs, couldn't move. She'd been lying there for about 20 hours. No phone, no water, no food, freezing.
20 hours. That's incredible she survived. And they only found her because of a random photo.
Pure chance. If they hadn't taken that specific picture at that specific angle, she almost certainly would have died.
That's sobering. It highlights the sheer randomness of survival sometimes.
And there's a tragic backstory, too. She'd been hiking with a friend the night before. They both fell. Her friend actually died trying to get help nearby.
God, that's awful.
Yeah.
It really underscores how easily tragedy can happen unnoticed. And that Reddit comment someone made, imagining finding something like that in the background of your vacation photos weeks later. Chilling.
Yeah, absolutely chilling. Okay, from the wilderness back to the digital world, but with potentially lethal consequences. This involves a Reddit user called Night of Sunlight.
Okay, what did they find?
About 5 months before the story got attention, they posted a picture of a weird object they found at a construction site. Asks Reddit, hey, what is this thing?
Standard Reddit procedure.
And the replies came fast.
Yeah.
And they were alarming. People identified it as an Italian VS-50.
A VS-50?
Yeah.
That's an anti-personnel landmine, isn't it? A nasty blast mine.
Exactly. Powerful stuff. Warnings flooded the thread. Don't touch it. Call the authorities. But then, silence.
Silence from Night of Sunlight.
Yeah. He just stopped replying. Even before it was definitively confirmed as a landmine, he went quiet. And he'd been a pretty active user before that. His very last comment was weirdly casual, comparing it to a container for diamonds in the movie Men in Black.
That doesn't sound good. Did anyone figure out what happened?
Well, this is where it gets interesting and kind of showcases Reddit's hive mind. People started digging. They searched for news reports of explosions near construction sites around that time, but found nothing conclusive. But they couldn't get location data from the photo, so they went through his post history. And they found out Night of Sunlight had been planning a trip to Ecuador.
Ecuador. Why is that significant? Because Ecuador is one of the countries known to have used VS-50 landmines, particularly in border regions or older conflict zones. Finding one at a construction site there, while it's still odd, is perhaps slightly less improbable than finding one in, say, Ohio.
So the implication is grim.
It's definitely unsettling. No confirmation, no news reports found matching the situation in Ecuador either, as far as the source thread indicated. And 5 months later, the account was still inactive.
It's a digital ghost story almost. A mystery with a potentially tragic real-world ending that we just might never know for sure.
Precisely. A stark reminder that online posts can sometimes be the last trace of someone facing real danger.
Okay, one final story. This one's about confessions online and how they can backfire spectacularly. You know the confession bear meme?
Yeah, usually for embarrassing secrets or minor admissions, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I pretend to like my friend's cooking or something trivial. But this one. This was posted on the Animal Advice subreddit, of all places, about 3 years ago.
Animal advice. Okay, strange place for it.
Oh.
What was the confession?
The title was simple. Finally have the guts to say it. And the user, Narado, posted this. My sister had an abusive, methodic boyfriend. I killed him with his own drugs while he was unconscious, and they ruled it as an overdose.
Whoa. Okay, that is leagues beyond a typical confession bear. That's a murder confession.
Right. Predictably, Reddit users immediately jumped on it. Did you really do this? He kind of waffled at first, said only some of it was true.
Yeah.
Then, as people pressed him, he claimed it was all a joke and quickly deleted the post and his entire account.
Trying to backtrack, but probably just made it look worse.
Oh, way worse. Because trying to dismiss it just fueled the suspicion. And the internet being the internet, the consequences were immediate and severe.
Let me guess. Doxing.
Yep. Narada got doxed hard. His full name, age, address, where he worked, links to all his social media, everything put out there.
Yikes. That really highlights the illusion of anonymity online, doesn't it?
Totally. And the potential real-world fallout. Because, joke or not, people took it seriously.
So, legal trouble.
He was reported immediately to the FBI's TIP website. And the source mentioned the San Diego Police Department actually opened an investigation based on the post.
Regardless of whether it was true or just an incredibly stupid, dark joke.
Exactly. The source didn't say if he was ever arrested, but it just goes to show that digital footprint is permanent, and what you toss out there, even as a supposed joke, can have massive real-life consequences.
A cautionary tale for the digital age, for sure.
Wow. Okay. We've definitely covered some disturbing territory today. Hidden rooms, fractured minds, online horrors, real-world tragedies found by chance. It's a lot.
It really is. And if we connected all these online forums, they really do offer this sometimes unsettling but utterly fascinating glimpse into the sheer range of human experience.
Yeah.
It shows how truth can genuinely be stranger and often way more disturbing than any fiction we could come up with.
Absolutely. So, maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. In our hyper-connected world, how much weirdness, how much tragedy, how much horror is happening just outside our frame of view. Maybe even lurking unnoticed in the background of our own photos or digital feeds, just waiting for someone to look closer.
Makes you think.
It does. Well, thank you for joining us on this rather unsettling deep dive. We're always here to help you get informed, quickly and thoroughly. Until next time, stay curious.